Right now at 10, a local man using his wheelchair to drive hundreds of miles in protest, what he's hoping his journey will accomplish. And the hazy skies will continue the ways area residents are dealing with all that wildfire smoke. Plus, investigating Madison's missing ballots. We'll sit down with the city to learn what's being done to solve the issue. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric. Off. One Wisconsin man is making the trip from Neenah all the way to Madison in just his wheelchair, and it's for a good cause. Maddie Heimsch tells us, as she tagged along, she tells us his story.
Carl Schultze has been wheelchair bound for almost 20 years.
There's tens of thousands of people like me just in our state.
But for the past 2 weeks, he's really been bound for the state capitol.
I've been averaging about 10 miles a day, sometimes 11.
Traveling in his wheelchair from Neenah to downtown Madison.
When I get to the capitol, it'll be 127 miles.
His mission, to bring awareness to a lack of home health care access, which Carl says stems from low pay for care workers and has been exacerbated by recent cuts to Medicaid.
The average pay is like 15 bucks an hour for people to help someone like me. And they could go start at a fast food restaurant for $18 to $20 an hour. Economic factors are leaving people like me behind.
With a message in mind for Madison's lawmakers, Carl knew exactly how he'd make the trip.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if anybody ever drove their wheelchair across the country. And I found a few gentlemen that did.
But realized that unlike those before him, his reach could go even farther than the 127 miles of road ahead.
And it dawned on me that, none of these guys did their journeys at a time when everybody had social media and a smartphone in their pocket. What up, everybody? All right, guys, day 4 starting. Here we go. Let's start day 6. What a way to get people's attention to try and change this.
He hopes that change will come at the finish line. A rally to take place at the Capitol Friday with other members of the disability rights community.
And we're going to roll that last mile together down to the Capitol, because that's what it's about, not me, all of us.
A culmination of each of those 127 miles. So then what when you're done with this whole journey?
Go home and plan for the next one.
Reporting on the path to Madison, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
Carl says he's considering doing a cross-country trip in his wheelchair next summer to continue raising awareness for those home health care workers. Well, our hazy skies continue into the night. Alex, what's the latest on the air quality out there?
Yeah, it's not good stuff out there right now. We're tracking that plume of wildfire smoke that has come down from Canada, and it's going to stick around for a while. It may even stick around into parts of the upcoming weekend. Well, let's track that smoke plume. Where you see the red, that is the deepest concentration of the smoke, right, stretching from approximately Minneapolis down to La Crosse to Madison as we get to about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. What you want is the blue. What you don't want is the reds, and you certainly don't want the purples either. As we put this into motion, good news. As we get past noon going to 6 o'clock on Friday, we see blue over the Madison area, but we're not far away from that darker concentration from La Crosse down to Grant County, down to Lafayette County, extending all the way up to Minneapolis, where that smoke plume will continue. So if you're looking outside at the skies in Platteville tomorrow, you probably will see a milky white sky. That's that smoke in the higher up in the atmosphere, whereas in Madison, we may have clear skies by the time we get to a little bit later on Friday. But then that smoke plume tries to build back in as we go into Saturday. Notice the orange is trying to build up back into the Madison area, and it very well could continue to meander around the upper Midwest, including Wisconsin, through Saturday going on into Sunday. So you want to have that First Warn weather app handy to know whether or not we have that air quality alert potentially extended beyond Friday at noon. Right now, we've got the oranges and the reds across the entire area. That means we've got that smoke out there in the atmosphere, and that air quality alert lasts until 12 o'clock on Friday, but it could be extended beyond that. Coming up when you see me in a few minutes, we're going to talk also about the water that we got yesterday, and did it wash away the rest of the drought? I have that answer in a few minutes.
All right, Alex, thank you. The air quality has been labeled unhealthy for everyone, with that wildfire smoke overtaking the skies above Wisconsin, but that didn't stop people from getting active. Madison's All-City Swim Meet held this afternoon and morning as well. This was actually at Hill Farms. Some golfers on Odana Hills, they were also cutting through the thick air when hitting their drives.
I guess I can feel a little bit in my lungs and a little runny nose. The ball doesn't affect the ball, but it's hard to actually pick up the ball at the end of a drive. when normally you can see it pretty clearly.
Now, as of today, Wisconsin has surpassed 2023 in the amount of poor air quality days. SSM Health teaming up with the Madison Police Department to build better relationships with the community. Next Tuesday, Madison Police will hold their National Night Out event. The annual community building campaign serves to foster relationships between community partners, neighborhoods, and law enforcement.
I think community ties into health, and a healthy community is healthy people. And with healthy people, it brings a better community, and it just all ties in and feeds off each other.
SSM Health's National Night Out Partnership events will be held from 4 to 7 p.m. next Tuesday at both Penn Park and SSM Health South Campus on Fish Hatchery Road. We're now 8 days into Packers training camp, and the kicking game appears to be on solid footing. Our senior Packers writer Jason Wilde now from Lambeau Field with more on how the special teams are shaping up.
How you doing, everybody? It's Jason Wilde at Lambeau Field. I don't want to be melodramatic, but we have breaking news. Kicker Brandon McManus missed a kick today. He had not missed all camp. He had made 25 in a row between field goal attempts and extra point attempts, but on his 26th attempt, he pushed a 49-yarder wide. Now, this is breaking news for a couple of reasons, not just because he's been so good, but because he has really solved the Packers' kicking problems that they had with young kickers the previous year and a half. He was really good when he got here in October, all the way through the regular season, and now he's really good again. There's two reasons for that. One, he came back in peak physical condition. At age 34, having had his birthday on Friday, he is the oldest player on the team, but Rich Bisaccia, the special teams coordinator, told him to come back in tip-top shape. He did, and he's kicking well. The other reason, his confidence in the battery. Long snapper Matt Orzech, holder Daniel Whelan, and of course in his own leg.
But a compliment to him, certainly. I think he's gotten himself in tremendous physical condition. He came back. I tried to explain to him, if you come back at like age 22, you got a long time to keep playing. And I think he did a really good job of getting himself in good physical condition. He's confident in the battery. We've talked about him, how particular he is, and I think they really work well together. They're certainly complementing each other in the way that they're practicing.
Now, we know the most important kicks are the ones in games, and Brandon McManus has still been kicking himself, pun very much intended, for missing a kick in the playoff loss to Philadelphia in January. But the bottom line is he is locked in. He made his 3 kicks after the miss today. He is now 28 for 29 in camp. He got a 3-year contract from the Packers in March, and it appears he has definitely solved their long-term kicking struggles since the days of Mason Crosby and moving on from him. We'll see if he's able to do it in the games that count, and we'll be covering the games that count, along with all the games that don't count in the preseason and throughout training camp at channel3000.com, where you get your free Packers coverage. And, of course, you can also get a free newsletter if you sign up, so you can have our coverage of the Packers delivered directly to your inbox. That's it from Lambeau Field for today. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Jason, thank you. The Green and Gold are holding their 24th family night at Lambeau Field on Saturday. Doors set to open at 5:30. The team takes the field at 7. A week from that game, the games that don't count that Jason mentioned, the Packers will open the preseason hosting the New York Jets. That kickoff is at 7. And still to come tonight at 10, Alex tells us more about when that air quality might improve over the weekend. And an investigation into Madison's missing ballots is now complete. What the city is doing to stop the issue from happening again.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Tonight, we're digging into what caused 193 absentee ballots to go uncounted in November. The incident triggered investigations from both the Wisconsin Elections Commission and the city of Madison. The mistake also caused longtime Madison clerk Mary Beth Witzel-Bale to resign. Our Ellie LaLiberte has been looking into this now for months. And Ellie, what did you find?
Eric, well, clerk's office staff say they told the former clerk about some of the missing ballots on November 12th, but instead of taking action, Mary Beth Witzel-Bale went on vacation the next day. Now, those missing ballots were not enough to change the outcome of any race, but it was enough to shake some voters' confidence.
It was my first presidential election.
19-year-old Ben Brown really cares about his future.
I mean, I think it's one of the most critical elections of our generation.
So when he voted absentee last November, he checked his ballot status every day.
Actually, when I saw that it made it, I thought that I had done my due diligence to get my vote in and have it count.
But that didn't happen. Ben is one of 193 people in Madison whose vote wasn't counted. And although the city sent out letters, he didn't even know until I called him.
I was shocked, frankly.
So what happened? Well, these are the bags used to transport and hold absentee ballots. But an investigation from the Wisconsin Elections Commission found that 2 of them likely never even made it to their polling site.
When I've talked about what happened in Madison, one of the words I used was shocking.
That's how Ann Jacobs, the chair of the Wisconsin Elections Commission, feels. It's the first time the commission has launched an investigation of its own.
And I think it really was shocking because this sort of laissez-faire attitude of, golly, there might be ballots, who knows?
Jacobs says poll books were printed too early and the policies in place did not properly track absentee ballots. But one of the biggest issues was a lack of action. When some of the missing ballots were discovered on November 12th, there was still time to have them counted. Instead, the clerk, Mary Beth Witzel-Bale, went on vacation the next day.
Why wouldn't you make every possible attempt to include them, to look at them, to call the commission, to call the county clerk, to call anybody?
But it wasn't just a lack of action by Witzel-Bale. According to the WEC investigation, the deputy clerk, Jim Verbick, who acts as clerk in Witzel-Bale's absence, did not think it was his job to do anything about the ballots.
But ignoring things doesn't make them go away.
Emails obtained by News 3 Now show Witzel-Bale partly blaming poll workers for the uncounted ballots.
I checked my voting record and I saw it wasn't there in November, and that was another level of shock because I was like, this is real.
For failing to manage staff and handle absentee ballots, the WEC found probable cause that Witzel-Bale broke 5 election laws. It did not, however, recommend any legal action against her.
We want our clerks to come forward when they make mistakes.
There is no clerk school, there is no clerk degree, no clerk college, that kind of thing.
Elena Hilby is the Sun Prairie clerk and president of the Wisconsin Municipal Clerks Association. She says the mistakes made in Madison could have happened to anyone.
I am trying to be 100% honest here. I don't remember getting a lot of specific instructions of this is how you should do it.
I asked Jacobs about that. Is it the role of the Elections Commission to provide clerks across the state with that information?
I definitely believe that it is our role and our one of our most important tasks to help our clerks administer elections. We are, as always, working with our clerks to improve things.
City Attorney and Acting Clerk Michael Haas says that improvement is already happening. Can you walk me through specific changes that the clerk's office has made to prevent an error like this in the future?
It comes down to a couple of different things. One is better tracking of the absentee ballots. So we have essentially a chain of custody to ensure that it was delivered. Another category of changes has been what the staff does after the election.
But for Ben, that's not enough.
I feel ultimately just very disappointed. It does make me wary of just next time I'm going to be questioning, did my vote count this time?
Now, I did talk to other voters who say that even though their vote wasn't counted, the thoroughness of this investigation actually restores their faith in the election process. I also tried to reach out to Witzel-Bale for comment and did not hear back.
Now, there's also pending legal action against both the city of Madison, also Dane County. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, Law Forward is in the very beginning stages of a class action lawsuit serving both the city and the county with notices that identify harm to individual voters at $175,000.
So when you look at, oh, I'm sorry, we have a soundbite here.
We think it is important to send a message that if anyone's absentee vote is jeopardized, is denied, there is going to be a price to pay. That's what this is about.
So now to my next question, Ellie, what are the next steps without Mary Beth Witzel-Bale? What's the next step for the clerk's office?
Yeah, well, the WEC voted at their last meeting earlier this month to give the clerk's office until August 7th to review and recommend some new procedural changes, which we did hear from Haas there that they've already started to implement. So if you want a full timeline, though, of what happened here, you can look for this story on channel3000.com.
I know you've been covering it for a long time, Ellie. Thank you very much. The other big story today has been the smoke all across southern Wisconsin. So when will the air quality improve? Will it do so over the weekend? Here's Alex with the answer.
Yes, we hopefully will have some periods throughout the course of this weekend where we can breathe fresh air for a change. Not right now out there. We have smoke across all of southern Wisconsin. That's all the yellow, all the orange that you see. What you want to see is the blue. What you don't want to see is the yellow, the oranges, the reds, and you certainly don't want to see the purples. That would be more smoke in the atmosphere. When can we see a little bit of relief, Eric, in southern Wisconsin? Look as we go to Friday right around noon, but not for all of southern Wisconsin. Madison, up towards the Dells, down towards Janesville. And this is a fluid weather model because we all know how quick smoke can move around. The smoke plume's still over parts of southwest Wisconsin. I was mentioning earlier in the newscast, I won't be surprised to see on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam tomorrow, I'll be doing the noon show, that milky white sky in Platteville, but perhaps in Madison, we have a clear sky for at least a little while. Notice the plume tries to infiltrate and come back into southern Wisconsin as we get towards Saturday morning. So we may see yet another continuation of that air quality alert as we move further into the weekend, clearing out as we go Saturday afternoon. But I do worry that we're going to see that smoke plume sweep back in from the east as we go into Sunday. Hopefully we can keep that smoke plume out of here and breathe some fresher air, but not tonight. It's in that unhealthy category. If you are sensitive to these smoky conditions, it's best just to remain indoors. If you're not susceptible to these conditions, limit that outdoor activity. And even on a night like tonight when we've got all this smoke in the atmosphere, well, you may want to give your AC a break because we have seen improvements in the temperature and the humidity. You might want to leave the windows closed and have the AC on. You don't want to be breathing that in all night long. Air quality alert until noon on Friday, but again, I'm not going to be shocked to see this extended beyond Friday at noon. We'll keep a close eye on that. It's a good reason to have the first one weather at Pandy as well in case that alert is extended. 53 for a low temperature tonight. Again, very refreshing temperatures, just not refreshing air to go along with that. 76 for high Madison tomorrow, mid to upper 70s. So beautiful day temperature wise, but again, we're going to have that haze out there. I mentioned an update on the drought. I had a viewer out at Constance on the Square asking me, give us an update on the drought tonight at 10, and I will do that here. We still have abnormally dry conditions stretching from just east of Darlington over towards Monroe. It's very isolated. We've had improvement, but even with the rainfall that we've seen over the course of this past month, still have some areas along the Wisconsin-Illinois border that are still dealing with a little bit of that dryness. For the month, we've had about 6 inches of water, about 2 inches above normal. For the year, though, 6/100ths of an inch above normal. So we're right at normal for the year in southern Wisconsin for rainfall, and hopefully we can keep the raindrops coming. We don't want to go back into drought scenario by any stretch of imagination, especially as we continue to move through the end of the growing season here for our farmer friends. Water in the forecast by the time we get to the end of the 10-day forecast. And I guess also some good news here. Let's leave the forecast on a positive note. Comfy temps. That we got that at least in our favor. Just the wildfire smoke, unfortunately, if you're stepping out and susceptible to that, you might just want to stay indoors tomorrow.
Yeah, I was at that all-city swim meet today driving down. I've never seen it where the haze in Madison like that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you'd think it's humidity out there, and it's not. It's smoke.
Yeah, unreal. All right, so we're at the end of July. Everybody hoping the Brewers can, I don't know, add a big bat, maybe make a big move. Same old Brewers.
It's true.
They never do a lot at this time of the year.
You know that song, You Can't Always Get What You Want? Well, that's kind of the theme for the Brewers. Still to come in sports, the Brew Crew did make a trio of deadline moves, but were they what fans were hoping for? The answer next on News 3 Now. The last time that Andrew Rohde played at the Kohl Center, he set the WIAA record for the most points scored in a single state tournament. 4 years later, the Brookfield native returns to Madison, but this time as a Wisconsin Badger. He proved an elite shooter and playmaker at Virginia, but wanted to finish his college career where it all started.
You know, I grew up watching all the games, watching both the Final Four appearances, and you know, just being able to be here, it's a blessing. You know, getting to learn from Coach Gard and all the players who have been here, just learning the system, learning the environment has been great. You know, I kind of knew I wanted to come home, and it just felt right. Just being an hour away from my family, so I've got to see them probably more times this past couple months than I have in the past 2 years, so it's been great.
Kelly Sheffield has built a national powerhouse in Wisconsin volleyball and has done it in a way that on the surface may seem unconventional. The Badgers kick off their season on August 17th with a whole lot of newcomers on their squad. In assembling their new look roster, Sheffield certainly looks for great players, but more importantly, great people.
That's becoming harder and harder in the transfer NIL world, revenue sharing world, is to get people to think beyond themselves and try to elevate others. And when you have those players that are wired like that, there's nothing better as a coach. I feel like we've got that.
The Packers are a tight-knit team this year. Evan Williams was asked today how the players have remained so close while competing for a starting role at the same time, and his teammate immediately chimed in and said, "We're family, that's why." And for the second-year safety, it's the truth. Number 33 was a revelation on the field as a rookie, but says the real work happens off the field.
Everybody understands, everybody has their own individual goals, right? But at the end of the day, our main goal is we got to win a Super Bowl, right? Like that's always on the forefront of our mind. And so, of course we're going to compete, but at the same time, yeah, he said it, we're a family, right? If I'm doing my job to the best of my ability, that's going to inspire everybody else in the room to be their best.
And at the last minute, the Brew Crew made some trade deadline moves. First, they traded for an outfielder, Brandon Lockridge. That was in exchange for Nestor Cortez. And then they traded for a pair of, injured pitchers. Shelby Miller, he's a great closer, in addition to Jordan Montgomery, who will be out for the year. One more note on football. Tonight was the Hall of Fame game. The preseason is underway. The regular season will be here before you know it. And also before you know it, Alex will be back with a final check of your First Warn forecast.
Alex is back. Final check of the forecast.
Yeah, not good stuff. Through at least noon on Friday, we have that air quality alert. This is in that unhealthy category. If you are sensitive to these smoky conditions, it is advised by the Department of Natural Resources, just stay indoors until air quality improves. If you're not susceptible to these conditions, you may want to consider limiting outdoor activities. And when you think of our temperatures tonight in the 50s and highs in the 70s tomorrow, you want to give that AC a break with the air quality conditions that we have out there. You might still want to keep the windows shut and keep that AC on to keep that air quality outside.
Yeah, last night you mentioned you attempted to open the windows, but don't do it because of that air quality. All right, Colbert is up next. Our next newscast tomorrow morning at 4:30. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.